Patriotism, the original cryptocurrency. You don't physically own anything, but you fight strangers online to defend its value. It's a word that can stir hearts, raise flags, and, if you're not careful, inflate entire defense budgets. On the surface, it looks like a noble bond with the land we call home. But if that was it, there would be no point of me waffling right now. The truth is, patriotism is wielded by politicians as a tool, convincing strangers to fight, bleed, and die for wars they never chose. I mean, think about it. There are and have been so many wars with millions dead. Do you think they would have done it if they weren't blindly being patriotic? Meanwhile, the rulers who preach it, they've never been to war because their version of patriotism comes with five-star rooms and air conditioning. Now, if that isn't some bullshit. So let's dive into this volatile idea together and see how patriotism gets used as both a shield and a sword. A shield for the rich and a sword against basically everyone else. From the moment we can stand in formation and mumble a song, we're told our country is sacred. Here in the United States, kids recite the Pledge of Allegiance every day. Prove that marketing works best when the target audience is, well, toddlers. I've always thought that saying the pledge in school is like agreeing to terms and conditions you didn't read, except instead of losing your data, you lose your critical thinking. And just like these terms and conditions, patriotism is not about understanding, it's about compliance. In practice, it's blind loyalty to a flag and an anthem, with social penalties waiting if you hesitate. Whether it's a stranger's glare in public or your uncle's fury at the barbecue. Let's call it what it is. Patriotism isn't soil or stone. It's more like piss on the soil. Animals mark their territory that way. Patriotism is just our version of it. It's an idea that tells you when to stand, what to sing, and how emotional you look while doing it. I mean, come on. In a certain country, standing for the national anthem before a film was, for a time, a legal requirement because nothing says freedom like being told exactly when to stand. And true story, by the way, straight from India. In a movie theater one fine day, when the anthem played, every patriot jumped to their feet, except one guy. A mob of furious citizens, overflowing with national pride, rushed to teach him a little lesson on respect. They pummeled him, so proud they had defended the nation with honor. Well, turns out he was a disabled man in a wheelchair. Now, this would be funny if it weren't a running gag in India, but it just shows how patriotism gets measured, not by what you do for your country, but by how convincingly you perform for it. You do not feel patriotism while planting a tree or cleaning your room. You feel it when you salute fabric or when you cheer for a sports team wearing colors that match the flag. I know I'm already pissing off some of you guys right about now, so let me throw you a bone. I don't think patriotism is inherently malicious, but I firmly believe it's manufactured deliberately, much like a brand that never goes out of season, always in stock, rarely on discount. Governments use patriotism not because it unites people, but because it makes them obey. A flag, a stubborn slogan, and a looming deadline can push citizens to act without questioning. Do it for your country totally bypasses any legal debate or logical scrutiny, skipping directly to obedience. Soldiers go to war because they're told it's their duty. But duty is like being told to do the dishes. Why is it your job? The answer doesn't matter. That is the point of duty. You don't ask, and God forbid you do. If they challenge duty, the challenger is going to be branded a traitor. In the hands of slimy politicians, patriotism transforms into nationalism, and nationalism turns patriotism into a pyramid scheme. The masses at the bottom pay in blood, sweat, and taxes, while the few at the top cash out. Everyone's told they'll get rich in pride, but only the bosses ever see the real payout. Take Muhammad Ali, the goat who floated like a butterfly and stung like.
And shoot them for what? They never called me nigga.
He
They
skipped
never
the
lynched
war
me.
because, as he put it, he had no quarrel with people halfway across the world. For that, America stripped his title, sentenced him, and basically said, "You may have dodged all those punches, but you can't dodge patriotism." The irony, of course, is brutal. The greatest fighter in the world was punished for refusing to throw punches halfway across the world against farmers in a way lower weight class, in a war he had no say in. They took away his boxing license, not because he failed in the ring, but because he refused to betray his principles outside of it. And these were lofty Gandhian ideals, mind you. He simply refused to kill innocent people defending their land.
When I'm on freedom, you my opposer when I'm on justice, you my opposer when I'm on equality. You won't even stand up for me in America for my religious beliefs, and you want me to go somewhere and fight, but you won't even stand up for me here at home.
Here's how they do it. This transformation thrives on a deliberate blurring of lines between symbols and systems. They weaponize language so that criticism of a leader is instantly reframed as an attack on the nation. As if the flag and the prime minister were the same damn thing. Watch how the government becomes synonymous with the country and the ruling party gets branded as the official outlet for patriotic pride. Let's be clear, the confusion isn't accidental. It's engineered to make dissent read as disloyalty, granting those in power a free hand to act without meaningful oversight. Like a committee that investigates itself and, shocker, declares itself innocent. Across the world, leaders exploit this bond so thoroughly that to question them is to be cast an enemy of the state. When that happens, falsehoods stop being lies and become patriotic truths. Basically, propaganda wrapped in a flag. You can see this play out everywhere. In Hong Kong, calling for a public vote was treated as treason. In India, objecting to a controversial citizenship law earned you the label anti-national. In the United States, kneeling during the anthem, a song meant to celebrate freedom, was branded un-American. Turns out the land of the free has a long list of things you're not really free to do. By recoding disagreement as betrayal, authorities perform a magic trick. They make legitimate questions disappear. Suddenly, questioning power stops being a right and becomes a luxury, available only to those brave enough or far enough from its reach. The rest are expected to follow orders and save their questions for a time that never comes. It's the ultimate my way or the highway setup, and they've convinced everyone the highway leads straight off a cliff. Let's talk about how our brains are wired. Human beings are tribal by nature. We all crave belonging and an identity that links us to something larger, preferably in forms we can wear, display, or rally around. Patriotism supplies that craving on demand. Flags to wave, maps to cherish, and narratives that make us feel noble. Even when the stories are written by the victors, embellished to ensure we look glorious. Patriotism compresses identity into something portable. A phrase, a song, a bumper sticker, creating an instant sense of connection among strangers. When identity fuses with national symbols, criticism of the country can feel like a personal attack. This is a gift to politicians who get to pose as defenders of the nation while hiding behind the emotions of their supporters. Evidence becomes secondary to the comfort of belonging. That cozy blanket you don't realize is also a straitjacket. And that's where the problem really begins. When people wrap their identity in symbols, criticism stops being about ideas and starts feeling like personal insults. What starts as a private reflex, feeling insulted by criticism, quickly mutates into an ultimatum. Prove your loyalty or else. This isn't love of country, it's coercion. It's like being forced into a team jersey you never asked for, just to prove you're a real fan. In that setup, minorities are told to prove devotion. Peace is ridiculed as weakness. And disagreement is cast not as democratic life but as a threat to survival itself. Everyday rituals become loyalty tests. Think about it. In Israel, calling for human rights can brand you a traitor. In North Korea, applause that isn't realistic enough can draw suspicion, because nothing says unity like measuring cheers with the ruler. Think of patriotism as a franchise. It's like nationalism. Different countries, same greasy recipe still being served long past its expiration date. Turkey jails journalists as terrorists for inconvenient truths, because apparently facts are the real threat to national pride. And in Brazil, Amazon defenders get smeared as unpatriotic for fighting fires set for profit, as if loving your land means letting it burn for cash. This pattern isn't protection, it's preservation for the profiteers. And in the United States, patriotism gets so warped that you think proving your love for the country means defending literal pedophilia and trafficking. If you've got nothing to hide, you've got nothing to fear. That's what they tell us while scanning our phones and our lives. But the Epstein files? Locked up like they're nuclear codes. When I delete my browser history, I look guilty. When they delete a list of pedophiles, it's called national security. Look, I'm not saying we should ditch patriotism altogether, but accepting the prepackaged version sold to us is a mistake, like buying expired milk because the label looks familiar. Patriotism doesn't have to mean blind loyalty to leaders, symbols, or institutions. To me, it's about protest against injustice, compassion for fellow citizens, and a refusal to let cruelty wear my flag like a cheap costume. Real patriotism is not comfortable. It should challenge the status quo, insist on accountability, and protect people rather than reputations. It demands that the ideals a country claims to uphold are defended in practice, even when doing so requires opposing those in power. Let's be blunt, nationalism's a breeze. Just get a lobotomy and scream, "We're number one," like you mean it. Being patriotic, that's the hard part. It's not yelling, it's defending the rights of the most vulnerable. The powerful already have armies and public relations firms. Let's be clear, they do not need my unquestioning loyalty. What they need is scrutiny, preferably with a magnifying glass held steady. Patriotism at its best is not silence but responsibility. And if my so-called love for my country falls apart when questioned, then it's not love, it's blind loyalty to a power structure. I'm not some pawn in their game. I'm a citizen, and I intend to act like one.